Good day, everyone. We are the Group 7 presenting about Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness. Before we go on her theory, let's have a short bibliography about the theorist. So, her name is Margaret A. Newman. She's recognized to be the living legend of American Academy of Nursing. Margaret was born on October 10, 1933 in Memphis, Tennessee. Margaret is known to be an American nurse, a university professor, and a nursing theorist as well. About her educational background, in the mid-1950s, she decided to become a nurse after experiencing or being a primary caregiver of her sick mother, which led her to have a big passion to attend nursing school. And in that, she received her bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Tennessee in 1962. She received her master's degree in medical and surgical nursing from the University of California in the year 1964. After that, at New York University during 1961, she received her PhD. For her career, she continued teaching at New York University, wherein she met Martha Rogers, who was her mentor and teacher. During that time, Margaret was inspired by Martha to create the theory of health as expanding consciousness in the year 1978. She became a nurse theorist and continued teaching until she retired in the year 1996. So, during the career of Margaret A. Newman, she received countless awards and honors, and she was also named as the living legend in honor of her contributions to the nursing profession. So, in the theory of health as expanding consciousness, there are theories that influenced her to create this. One of them was Martha Rogers' theory of unitary human beings, Itzhak Bentov's concept of evolution of consciousness, Arthur Young's theory of process, and David Bohm's theory of implicate. So that's all for the short bibliography of the theories.
Assumptions in Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness. First assumption, health encompasses conditions heretofore described as illness or in medical terms pathology. Second assumption, these pathological conditions can be considered a manifestation of the total pattern of the individual. Third assumption, the pattern of the individual that eventually manifests itself as pathology is primary and exists prior to structural or functional changes. Fourth, removal of the pathology in itself will not change the pattern of the individual. Fifth, if becoming ill is the only way an individual's pattern can manifest itself, then that is health for that person. Sixth, health is an expansion of consciousness. These are the 6 assumptions in Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness. The summary is, the manifestation of disease will depend from the pattern or behavior of the patient. So, the study of essential in nature of diseases, also called as pathology, is thus already exists before the symptoms begins to appear. And because of this, removal of the disease does not change an individual's structure. And according to Newman's theory, since health is an expansion of consciousness, it is important that we develop awareness and consciousness by increasing energy to our body, mind, heart, and spirit, becoming more of oneself, finding greater meaning in life, and reaching new dimensions of connectedness with other people and the world. And Newman's health as expanding consciousness theory is helpful because it can be applied in any setting and applicable for caring intervention and provides great resource with a potential to evidence-based nursing care. That's all for the assumptions in Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness.
Now, let's move on to the definition of the main concept. The first one is person or human. Human is unitary wherein it cannot be divided in two parts and it is inseparable from the larger unitary field. Person as individual and human beings as species were identified by the pattern of consciousness. Person does not possess consciousness because person is consciousness and persons are the center of the consciousness wherein an overall pattern of expanding consciousness. And the second meta paradigms or the main concept is environment, wherein environment described as the universe of open system. And the third meta paradigms is health, wherein health and illness are synthesized as health, wherein the fusion of one state of being disease and not disease is still regarded as a health. And the last meta paradigm is nursing, wherein nursing is the caring in the human health experience and it is the partnership of nurse and client wherein they both grow in sense of higher level of consciousness. And that's all the four meta paradigms or the definition of the main concept of Newman's theory.
Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness. I'll be talking about theory proper. The theory of health as expanding consciousness was stimulated by concerns for those whom health as the absence of disease or disability is not possible. Nurses often relate to such people facing the uncertainty, debilitation, loss, and eventual death associated with chronic disease. The theory has progressed to include the health of all persons regardless of the presence or absence of disease. The theory asserts that every person in every situation, no matter how disordered or hopeless it may seem, is a part of universal process of expanding consciousness, a process of becoming more of oneself, of finding greater meaning in life, and of reaching new dimensions of connectedness with other people and the world. This was according to Newman, 2010. As for addition, in Newman 2008 has synthesized the tenets of her theory as 1. Rather than being the opposite of illness, health includes patterns of disease and is an evolving unitary pattern of the whole. 2. Consciousness is the informational capacity of the whole and is revealed of an evolving pattern. And lastly, third, pattern identifies the human environmental process and is characterized by meaning. Newman sees meaning as almost synonymous with pattern. When nurses engage with people in dialogue, focus on meaning, they hold no judgment of good or bad, right or wrong. Nurses regard whatever arises in the evolving pattern in the lives of individuals, families, and communities with non-judgmental and authentic presence. Based on what Newman's theory, exposure of human to the entire energy system of the universe and are continuously interacting with energy. With this mechanism of contract, human beings are forming their individual pattern of wholeness. Newman's interpretation of the sequence is important. Expanding awareness is recognition of the trend. The manifestation of the disease depends on the pattern of the human because the anatomy of the disease exists before the symptoms occur, and the symptoms of the disease do not affect the structure of the human. Newman further defines nursing according to her nursing, the method of identifying the person in relation to the world, and the method of experiencing consciousness. The nurse makes patients learn how to harness the force inside to develop a higher degree of consciousness. It thus helps to understand the mechanism of illness, its healing, and its prevention. Newman further discusses the interrelationship of time, space, and movement. Time and space are the temporal pattern of the person, all of which have complementary relationship. Humans are continually evolving across time and space, revealing a peculiar cycle in truth. That's it for the theory proper of Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness.
Hi, my name is Jane Cario, and I will report my part in Newman's theory of health as expanding consciousness. The main strength of this theory is to address the patients, or this is what we call the health care. And the weakness of this theory is to evaluate the nursing practice, or this is the applicability in nursing practice.
Newman's theory has moved forward to include people's health even though they do or do not have a disease. In conclusion, it is considered as a grand nursing theory. People cannot be divided into parts because people or human either is unitary and is inseparable from larger unitary parts. Health is central to the theory. It is also seen as a process of which it develops awareness of individual self and environment. Also, person does not possess consciousness. Instead, person itself is consciousness. It can be conceptualized as consciousness being a manifestation of an evolving pattern of interaction between human and environment.